Again, everyone come forward, we'll get our meeting started. If you would, we'll start out with our Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next order of business is to adopt the agenda. Well, I think actually I do see one thing we need to add on, a couple of things we need to add on. We need to add on present the minutes. Do we have the minutes from last?
They were available on.
Yeah, we have to adopt.
Move to adopt with flexibility.
All right.
Second.
A motion and a second to adopt the agenda
That was the
With
agenda.
flexibility.
with flexibility.
Agenda.
Who was the second?
What does that mean?
Here. And the chair to rearrange the items.
All right. Is there any motion, any discussion on the motion?
Second.
Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Everybody has a copy of the last, the minutes from the last meeting? Are there any additions or corrections?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next we have our treasurer's report. Megan, you want to have a treasurer's report?
In the restricted account, we have $661.99. Our political account has $23,337.12. Our building fund currently has $989.59. Our judicial account has $943.59, and the state account has $74.23.
Are there any questions?
Motion approved.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Since our last meeting that in March, we did have our Frolic for Funds. It's obviously our biggest fundraiser we have of the year. I want to thank everybody who helped participate, make it a successful event, particularly Megan, who did an excellent job, Lauren, who helped this year, and I know I'm forgetting people, Kurt, but it was a good event, and we hope that you all enjoyed it. We'll have another successful one next year. Our next, I'd like to bring up, have some reports on the tornado recovery efforts from the city and the county. First, I'd like to bring up Commissioner Matt Joseph. Matt?
Thank you, Mark. Hello, everybody. First, I want to say, since it's the first time we've been together since the tornadoes hit, how much I appreciate all your help. Every time I would go out to a site, whether it was the Saturday right afterward where there were tons of people, or some weekday, there were always good Democrats there helping. Some of you a lot. I see people out there that are still out there nearly every day assisting in some way, whether it's helping folks whose house has been devastated, cooking, clearing brush, whatever it is. I really appreciate all your help. That's living our principles, and I love to see that. So thank you all. Just as a quick update, Mark asked me to give an update on what the status of tornado relief has been. I got, as of yesterday, we've removed 1,708, this is the city, we've removed 1,708 loads of debris. That's 394 tons. And I will say that we've had the assistance of a number of other cities, public works departments, Kettering, Moraine, Oakwood, Sinclair Community College. They've all contributed trucks and people to help us get, and that's a lot of debris. As far as FEMA, you all probably saw that just a few days ago it was announced that Montgomery County, along with 10 other counties in the state, had been announced that we would receive federal assistance, which include individual assistance, disaster legal services, and hazard mitigation. Also, it comes with, if any of you own small businesses that have been affected, the Small Business Administration offers low-interest loans. And the federal emergency designation opened all that for us. For help, and you probably know this, but I want to make sure I say it anyway, FEMA has opened 2 disaster recovery centers here. The first at the Children's Health Pavilion at Dayton Children's Hospital has opened, the new one, One Valley. The other one is Trotwood Madison High School. And they recommend that before you go to visit, you go to disasterassistance.gov or use the FEMA app to register before you go. It'll make things go quicker if you're registered already when you arrive there. And finally, just yesterday, we on the commission approved a resolution to waive fees for building, zoning, and demolition related to tornado damage. If you've already gone and paid, don't fret, you can get your money refunded. Eligible properties are those in a neighborhood identified as being impacted by the tornado and those on the city's tornado damaged property inventory list, which we got by going house to house and inspecting, so it should be pretty accurate. If you need more information, you can ask me afterward or go to our website at daytonohio.gov. Again, thank you all for your assistance. I saw so many of you out there helping, and I really appreciate it on behalf of our citizens. Thank you. Thank you.
Next, I'd like County Commissioner David Lieberman to come up and give us a perspective from the county.
Thank you, Mark. Well, as Matt said, I've seen so many of you out and working nonstop. We see on social media and out at the sites, and to say thank you doesn't seem like enough. This is something, it hit 9 jurisdictions in Montgomery County. And I've driven the path of both tornadoes several times. And if you haven't done it, it's okay to do it now because most of the danger is gone. All of the DP&L wires are back up. I saw the lineman doing a few yesterday in Harrison Township, but we've never experienced anything like this since the flood, and we know none of us have. But our community, it's just been amazing, whether it was our faith-based organizations or the nonprofits, all the elected officials, and each one of you has done something. Russ, with what you're doing, Carl, where's Brandon? Everybody has stepped up and been creative and thought of ways they can help. Each one of our jurisdictions has been wonderful. Some were hurt worse than others. Trotwood and Harrison Township are just unbelievable. The Trotwood system here, it's just unbelievable, isn't it? Today I was out, the food bank was out at the corner there of Salem and Shiloh, and there were hundreds of people lined up. So our work isn't done. We probably have several thousand people displaced. Some have already gotten to apartments, but when you look at the total number of homes that were destroyed, and then the homes that are not, you can't live in because they're structurally unsafe, but they maybe can be fixed, we're talking thousands of units or homes, and then add to that the units of apartments. Roland told me that they have 500 apartments that have been destroyed or severely damaged, and they'll tear them down. And Trotwood yesterday told me they have 850 apartment units. So when we say the destroyed number, there could be 25 units in one of those. So we know there are thousands of people that are really hurting. So the night it happened, our county administrator drove straight up to Trotwood because he got a call for help. So we opened the emergency management center over at the Rival, and we just went into full gear, along with Dayton, trying to figure out what was going on with the water. And you know that, the first week, I think between that and the lack of electricity, it made the tragedy even worse because people that weren't hit at all needed water and didn't have electricity. So after the immediate needs were being met, we began the short-term operations, much like Matt shared. We had help from all over, I mean from all over the state too. Some counties brought in their big trucks and I don't know, you know how many tons, but ours, it was so much. And you can still see some of it out at Paul's place on Little Richmond and then at Forest Park. It's unbelievable the amount of, not just the debris, but the amount of trees. And so all those trees we mulched, so there's a lot of mulch for a lot of parks, but you know, it's still hard to wrap your head around what's happened here. And again, the volunteers, it's hard to wrap your head around that. I mean, I don't care where you went, there were people, you know, nonstop, up and down the roads, passing out food, passing out. In fact, I was at one house and I was asking the lady if she needed anything, and she said, honey, I've had more food in the last 4 days than I had in a month. And I said, okay, her house was just destroyed, her roof was gone. And I said, well, what do you need? And she said, well, I could use some gloves so I can go through some stuff. I said, okay, I'll go get you some gloves. She was in Harrison Township. I turned around, and there's some volunteers, and she's like, oh, I don't need any food. I said, no, these are some supplies in it, or gloves and tape. So we couldn't do it without them, and they're still there. The volunteers on the ground that are loosely organized, as I'm looking at Mal, but everybody's becoming more organized. So that's one of the things that we as a county said, you know, what can we do to help, to continue to help, and to bring some organization. So we have established our long-term recovery group. They started meeting right away. The housing group met on June 4th, but we needed to focus on how can we make this better. So between the nonprofits and all our volunteers in all 9 jurisdictions, we're going to do this coordinated, and hopefully we can get the volunteers in those areas, because there were still areas that weren't getting much help. You know, maybe everybody was going to lower Northridge, and they were missing over by Main Street, that neighborhood over there that got hit. So we're going to get our arms around it, because these people are going to continue to need our help. But this could take Jeff Jordan, our EMA director, he said this could take us 2 years to get back, and maybe even longer. Because, you know, the houses in Northridge, I don't know how many of those are going to get rebuilt. I talked to Mayor Trava today, and she wants to rebuild, but it doesn't mean everybody's going to rebuild there. So Matt told you about the 2 FEMA recovery centers. Again, that's at Trotwood Madison High School and at Dayton Children's. And they're asking that as people, did anybody in here get hit by the tornadoes? Okay, Martha's not here. No, Martha did. So, you know, the one thing that was frustrating that first week was we knew where people could go for help, but they didn't know, especially if they were staying in their home, they didn't know. So we were able to get as many flyers out door to door and just get them the information they needed. So hopefully everybody knows about FEMA right now. So there's also the Small Business Administration is really reaching out. They have, so we opened in Trotwood the Recovery Center, and they are at that site and they're taking applications. But I've heard that FEMA wants to know if you can talk to them. Who have to talk to Red Cross? So there's a few hoops that people need to jump through. But there's so many programs, and if you go to the county's website, all of this is on it. We also waived our utility fees for water if you were affected. We waived the fee to get your electric turned back on. You know, you wouldn't have to get your permits. We waived that fee, and you need to get a destroyed property form. Carl's office does those. So if you can tell people that you know and friends and family that there's a lot you need to do, but the other thing we've done is we've extended to July 5th the SNAP food assistance applications that people need to do in case they lost food. And I mean, I have lists and lists and lists of things that we have, but if you go to the website, have people go to the website, most of that information is there. We didn't forget about the pets originally, but, you know, it was safety first, right? And so we have, this is something that 3 commissioners were concerned about, is the lost pets, because people are still, their cats are finally showing up, or maybe their dogs went somewhere else. And so we have a whole, the site for lost dogs is better, I'm going to say that. And a lot of people have taken lost dogs so we can track where they are, because we couldn't keep them all. And we also, typically, there's only a 3-day hold before they're put up for adoption or sent out to foster. And we've extended that to 10 days as well. So everybody's trying to do the best they can. If any of you have any additional thoughts or ideas about what we could do to make things better for people, it'd be great to know. So thanks again.
Thank you, Jen. I'm going to have Russ Joseph come up and give a brief announcement of what his office is doing.
Thank you. So just real quick, Debbie kind of talked about a little bit about what's going on with our offices. Carl has a damaged and destroyed property form, which affects property values for this coming year, starting in January. So if you've had damage and you want to try to lower your tax bill for next year, that's the way to do it. That information is on my site as well. We've got a checklist. The forms that are needed are all in one piece. So what we were able to do with this disaster is come up with a way to postpone a due date for those that had damage from the storm for our property taxes. We have second half tax bills that just went out. Some of you may have gotten them in the mail yesterday or today, or we'll get them in a few days if you haven't already. But we've come up with a program under the Ohio Revised Code where if you've had more than 25% damage of your property, we're able to extend your due date for 1 year. So those taxes would be due in July of 2020 instead of July 19th. So it gives people a little more breathing room to get their repairs done, insurance money in, and then be able to make that payment when they're able to within the next year. So again, all of that information is on my website. It's at the top of the page. We're having some website issues apparently tonight, but you can get to it for sure at mctreas.org. So it's mctrej.org. Normally it's mctreasurer.org. Hopefully that will be back up tomorrow, but we're having some issues with that tonight out here. So again, if any questions, see me after. We're trying to get the word out on that. So please help spread the message. Let me know if you think of if you hear of an event or anywhere that would be helpful to get that information out, and we'll do our best to be there. Thank you.
Mike? Mike? Are you guys still collecting food, Mike Gross?
Mike Gross? Is he here? Who's here? I know that they have been collecting food here as well. They have barrels in the back of the room, so if you want to continue to drop off food for the food bank, they are continuing to drop off food as well. We also are making collections. I know sometimes it's great to get the food, but sometimes they need cash too. So the Dayton Foundation has set up the Dayton Foundation Tornado Relief Fund, which will be going out to places like the food bank, the Red Cross, and other places that will help our recovery as well. And like I said, sometimes cash is just as important. So if you would like to donate to that, you can actually bring the checks here, and we'll forward them on to forward them on to the Dayton Foundation. So we hope that you continue to do that, keep our community in your prayers to help bring about a recovery. Okay, we have had some precinct captain resignations. Sarah Will brings Saheen from Kettering 3D resigned. John McManus from Dayton 9A resigned. Sue Danawi from Kettering 1D resigned. And Gretchen Kisak from Kettering 2I resigned. We do have some precinct captain appointments. First we have Wervie Pendergrass from Dayton 15A. Is Wervie here? Melissa Beal Wireline. Melissa, are you here? She's Kettering 2I. Stephen Spraley, Sid Berlin. Stephen, are you here? Ken McCall, I know I saw Ken come in. Ken? Appointed to 2D9A. Tom Shoup, Harrison Township E. And then Carolyn Rice, Centerville F. Carolyn's here. We also have some club reports. Let's start with Huber Heights. Diane, are you here? Where's Diane?
It's Dana.
Dana, I'm sorry, Dana. Do you have anything to Huber Heights?
I don't have anything specific, except that Huber has been leaning forward with some of their initiatives to also support the tornado recovery. So if you do live in that area, please reach out to City Council. There are some resources available, and they've put together a pretty comprehensive list of available support systems. Also, I am running for City Council in Huber Heights, so I don't know who it is I am a federal employee. I am running as a nonpartisan. Please let that be known very clearly. We are compliant with the Hatch Act. It does for me. I was actually my lead. I was going to, look. I am running a positive campaign. So, but if any of you would like to get involved out there, we need to start building out some action and some networks and get some energy going this year. I'm a great place to start in Huber Heights because we know that we are going to have to be active on the ground next year. So if you'd like to come out, there's a parade on Saturday. I have t-shirts and candy. If not, please like me on Facebook. It's Dana for HH Council. You'll see some upcoming events. I sent you an invitation. And I would love to see you out, but we would just love to see you come up and get engaged. We've got some great parks. We've got a great water park. We have nice people. So it's a good time. Okay.
Thank you, Dana. Don, a report from the Northwest Democrat Club?
Yes, the Northwest Democrats have been a year of floating around trying new places, and our picnic is going to be in a new location this year. I am so grateful to the county party for putting the information in the newsletter that you hopefully got, which means it'll be on the Facebook page for the county party. The Northwest Club, I'll get up on our website real soon. But we are going to have our annual picnic on Sunday, August 11th, 2019, from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Overlook Shelter at Sycamore Woods State Park. And there's directions for that came from the park, so I have to drive them and make sure they're accurate. I think they are. In my brain, it makes sense. At that picnic, other than just gathering Democrats from the northwest side of the county, we want to highlight candidates. So if you're a candidate, particularly running in the northwest side of town, a county office, if you're from Huber and you want to come, we're glad to have you, because sometimes people from other clubs will help people that aren't in their region. And I'm excited for Dana to be running for office. And I'm glad she's running as a nonpartisan, but I'll tell you, it makes a big difference to me whether you're a Democrat or Republican. So you can run for a nonpartisan office and you can be a Democrat. There is nothing wrong with that. And I hope Democrats will always be proud of the values that we represent, because we are for everyday people being successful and providing the support they need. So I hope every candidate who's available on August 11th will join us. You're welcome to send a surrogate. And if you have any questions, let us know, and our other meetings will be announced soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. South Dayton Democrat Club.
Hi. The South Dayton Democratic Club's last meeting was in May, and we welcomed Mayor Nan Whaley. Chicago, we're going to Chicago. She was updating us on the progress going on in Dayton. We had a great meeting, had nearly 60 people in attendance. So the South Dayton Club is growing every month, and we are thrilled about that. We unfortunately had to postpone our picnic. Mother Nature did not, agree with what we had planned, although it actually fooled us, didn't it, Mary? And it was only 4 hours that day that it didn't rain, and that would have been the 4 hours that we were there. But we have rescheduled, and we'd like to invite everybody. So we are going to have our picnic, same location, Delco Park, Shelter 1, and it will be on Tuesday. No weekends left, unfortunately, but it will be on Tuesday, July 30th, from 5 until 8. Again, any candidates are welcome. Anybody who would like to come, you can bring a side dish or a dessert to share. And if you haven't donated yet, a bottle of hooch for the booze buggy. We are still collecting. Even though we have been on summer break, the South Dayton Club has been busy. My infamous porch, everybody knows the porch at 132 Greenmount, is always open and has been open. We've had multiple collections of food for the food bank, for those people in need in Old North Dayton. We also were able to donate just this afternoon a check to a family who lost everything for nearly $700. They were thrilled. They're in temporary housing right now, but this is going to make a big difference to them. They lost their roof completely, and whatever was left in the house was then destroyed with the deluge of rain that we've had ever since. So that was wonderful, and I really, really thank the generosity of our South Dayton members. Many people, as has been said here tonight, not only donated generously with food and with money, but their time. A number of places we've been out volunteering, and the people we've bumped into have been our Democrats. 3 ladies, however, who are SDDC folks, I have to mention. You know them, and you know what they have been doing. Our own Melissa, and Jordan, who is always there at the side, and Angie Belong. Could you 2 ladies stand up? They have worked every single day since the tornado for multiple hours, every single day. And this young lady here should have been on medical leave. She was only 2 weeks out of back surgery. And she was there feeding hundreds of people, making sure that they were okay, bringing them food, going to hotels, seeking them out. I mean, amazing. They're my heroes, and they truly are living their democratic values. Our next meeting will hopefully be the 3rd Wednesday of September. I'll be booking the library promoting ourselves over here. And we've got booze buggy, raffle tickets if you would like to buy them. And actually the board that's there was something that Tim and I took to the Open Library a couple of Saturdays ago when we took part in the celebration of the swearing of an oath for the new American Creed. So we picked up some new members there as well. So if you'd like to have our emails, if you would like to join us, we've got a great year planned. I think we've got a really good selection of people coming to talk to us. Please sign up so we can keep in touch with you, whether you live in South Dayton or whether you live in Dayton proper. We'd love to have you come and join us. Thank you.
All right, I think Mike Rill is going to be giving a report for the Young Dems. Mike?
I don't have Allison Benford's loud, booming voice, so I'm going to use the microphone for this one.
You've been a teacher for 37 years.
Yeah, I don't have the teacher voice, that's for sure. So Tristina, our president, couldn't be here this evening, so I'll give a report. We had a debate watch party last night that went very well. We had a lot of members there at Fifth Street Brew Pub and just watched the debate, hung out, relaxed. And coming up in 3 weeks, we are headed to the Young Democrats of America convention. We'll have 10 members going, and it's in Indianapolis, so it's very easy. And in total, we'll have 50 members from Ohio there. So it'll be a great opportunity for us to hear from presidential candidates, get to go to nationally recognized training sessions, speakers, panel discussions, those sorts of things, and get to network with other Young Dems from across the country. So that's a great opportunity for us. And other than that, I'll say what I always say. If you're interested in joining the Young Democrats or know someone who might be, please come talk to me or one of our other members after we're done here. And we've also been organizing these sort of informal conversations where new members and people who are brand new to the organization and some of our more veteran members can all get together over a meal or a cup of coffee just to get to know each other. And I think it's a great way, if you want to join and you haven't been to one of our events yet, to really bridge the gap and get to know some folks before you come on in. So, thanks.
Just as a reminder, after this meeting, we will be having our debate watch party for the second debate tonight. So you're all invited to stay and participate in that. A couple of things I want to get to for business here. We are convening a couple of special committees. First, we're going to have a precinct captain committee that will be designed to help recruit precinct captains and also to train them. And we've kind of had an ad hoc committee doing that, but we're going to formalize it into a special committee. And I'm naming Allison Benford as the chair of that. Allison? And if you want to, I'm going to go through a few committees here. If you're interested in serving on these committees, whether they be special or the standing committees, please either see the chairs or myself or Kirk, and we'll get you signed up to be on those committees. So there's a lot of them there that can be part of. We're going to have a special committee, strategic planning committee, and Mike Bock will be chair of that. And if you want to see Mike afterwards or myself, if you want to serve on that committee, we'll do that.
Can I say a couple words? On the counter here is a letter that I wrote that says, "Dear friend," and I meant to put my email address at the end of it, and I was horrified when I realized that they all printed out and I bumped it down just a little too far. So my email address, if you'd like to contact me, is mcbock@icloud.com. And I want to say, after our March meeting, which was kind of a disaster, I had a real nice meeting with Mark, and we talked a little bit about this. And part of things that we haven't spent enough time to is what's in our Constitution. And this was approved at the June reorganization meeting. this Constitution has some very unusual statements in it that's not typical at all for a political party. And I've looked at a lot of constitutions of the other 87 counties in Ohio and as well just other places. And this kind of statement of purpose is very different. Mark Owens was the chairman of the Constitution Committee, and I served on that. And so we kind of hammered this out, and it raises some really interesting questions. That if we really do what our preamble says we want to do to empower democracy in our party and throughout the county, if we really want to do what we're talking about in terms of creating a community of Democrats, what's our strategy for doing that? So if you'd like to, discuss that, I think this is what the future of the party should be. I think this is how we become a strong party. We're going to have to start doing things a little differently and have a little different vision than what we have right now. And I appreciate Mark supporting this effort to try to think these things through. We may not all agree, but I think we can all agree that we want a strong party and that there's no time more important than right now that we become a strong and unified group. And so I hope that you can think about being part of this group. Thank you.
All right. We have also appointments of standing committee chairs. First of all, we've appointed a parliamentarian, Zach Dickerson. Zach, I think most people know him, but he ran last year for a state rep, and he's going to be our parliamentarian as well as chair of the Rules Committee. Paul Bradley will be the chair of the Campaigns and Elections Committee. That committee will help recruit candidates as well as help put on trainings for both candidates and those that want to help in campaigns. Community Involvement Committee, Brandon McLean will be the chair of that. This committee is something that we've had to try to get people involved in the community, things like this tornado relief effort. But ideally, we would like to see maybe take on every quarter some type of project throughout the community that we can help with. This committee will help to do that, let people know, whether it be back in the spring they had a cleanup around the community. So it's something that we want them to have so that people can have notice that we can all participate in those events. We also would look to have at least one thing we can do as a party. One thing we can do as a party that we can take on as our own. I know a few years back we did some dinners at the House of Bread for the homeless. It could be something like that or something else that this committee comes up with. Our Communications Committee, appointing Lauren Hartlaw. Lauren, I think many of you know her, maybe not. Lauren is going to be our Communications Committee. She helped last year with our judicial campaigns and was very helpful in putting out new ways of getting things out to the voters for our 3 successful judicial campaigns. And we hope that she can help us do that for the party as well. And then finally, for our Finance Committee, Larry Hartlaw is going to help chair that. Will help us with fundraising and maybe come up with some different ideas that help us raise money as well. So of those, if you want to be part of these committees, please see these individual chairs. In fact, if the chairs, before you leave tonight, they can come up and see Kurt and myself. We have some people that have expressed maybe an interest in serving on these, and we can give you those names. And then other people that want to serve on these committees, please volunteer, talk to the chair, talk to myself or Kurt, and we'll get you connected. The Ohio Democratic Party, through the Democratic National Committee, adopted a delegate plan for the 2020 convention. And we will actually have somebody from the ODP that will be here in August to give a more detailed account of that plan. But essentially, if you want to run as a delegate, they'll have this fall some forms that will be available that you fill out. You have to declare what candidate you want to support, will have to be into the Ohio Democratic Party no later than December 31st of this year, at 4 o'clock. Then on the 7th of January, we will have what they call caucuses. They'll be throughout the state of Ohio. We'll have one here in the 10th Congressional District, most likely either be at Sinclair Community College or perhaps Stivers. We have to have a place that has right now 25 rooms because each candidate is entitled to a room. Some of you may or may not join up or sign up to run for delegate. What happens is our 3 male and 3 female delegates for the 10th Congressional District. There are no alternate delegates this year for the 10th. We have each candidate, of the 25 candidates, their supporters will gather in one room, and they'll select 3 males and 3 females to put forward as delegates for those candidates. You'll get more detail again when in our August meeting, but if you want to participate, if you want to run for delegate, that's essentially how you do it. I told the executive committee sometimes, who's ever leading now may not be leading when it comes time to our caucuses. So, I'll give you an example. In 2004, we had our caucuses the first week of January, like we normally do. We had, everybody thought Howard Dean and Wesley Clark were going to be the leading candidates. Their rooms were packed. John Kerry and John Edwards had very few people in there. Whoever showed up could be the delegate. And guess who would, by the time it came around to the primary here in Ohio, the 2 leading candidates were no longer candidates, and it fell to John Edwards and John Kerry. So pick your candidates carefully. Okay? Go for who you believe in, not necessarily who you're maybe the leading candidate. So that's just advice. Yes.
With 20+ candidates currently in the running, is there any chance we could go to ranked order voting for the primary?
No. I mean, those rules are set by the state of Ohio. We're under state rules, so we can't change that.
The state party sets it, or the state of Ohio?
The state of Ohio.
It's gonna be really hard.
Well, I know, it's, one of the things that's been raised with them is that, you have to get 15% to get a delegate. With 25 people, if one person gets 16%, they could end up with all delegates. Because no one else will reach the 15% threshold. So again, it's not fair, but I mean, that's the rules that the state of Ohio has. The DNC has a 15% rule. They did that to try to get, they didn't think about having 20 candidates.
Well, we saw what happened last time.
Right. So, yeah. Now, the other thing that you need to know, I think just this week, the state of Ohio, because the Republican Party was advantageous for them, they moved the primary date back 1 week from March 10th to March 17th. Now, that date sounds familiar. It's also St. Patrick's Day, so they're actually going to have our primary on St. Patrick's Day. So, thank you, Ohio Republican Party.
Just don't go drinking.
Drink, drown, and vote.
Yeah, I mean, what's the problem there?
Well, there are things around the state of Ohio where they have parades. Cleveland, we're one of the.
My granddaughter's birthday too, but I'm still gonna vote.
Well, people can vote, but they just didn't make it any easier.
Do we want to have rice surprise pick them up at the bar?
So anyway, in dry counties, they wouldn't have to be open anyway. So again, we'll have more information on that in our meeting in August. I'm going to go a little bit out of order here. Our next major fundraiser will be on August 15th. We're having, mark your calendars, at the Ladies Luncheon. It will be held once again at the Dayton Convention Center. Generally, I believe it starts at 11:30 and it's generally done by 1 o'clock. And our guest speaker this year will be the minority leader of the House of Representatives in Ohio, Amelia Sykes. She's a very good, dynamic speaker, and we hope to see as many of you there as you possibly can be. Next on our agenda, we have a proposal from Central Committee member Mike Bock to amend bylaws. I think you all have an agenda. There are 4 bylaws that he is making a proposal for. First, the minutes of the Central Committee meeting shall be included, a record of all members in attendance at the meeting, and shall identify the precincts that each attending member represents. Each Central Committee meeting will include a review of the minutes of the previous meeting for changes and approval by votes of the committee. Each Central Committee meeting shall include a treasurer's report. And each calendar year, the Central Committee will discuss, vote on changes, and approve the Montgomery County Democratic budget for that year. Mike, did you want to say something?
I think we've had a little rough year getting going. I think this is saying that the Central Committee has to have a certain role to play. We were the elected body, we're representing the people of the Montgomery County. And so how should we conduct ourselves as a professional, serious group? And these are 4 suggestions that I hope that you will, can support. And the 4th one here, if there's no objection, where it says approve the MCDB budget, I want to say that's the operational budget. Okay, I know that the party, Mark has explained, handles a lot of money coming in from campaigns and from candidates and everything, that they have to go to the Columbus and transfer that money. So I'm not talking about any of those kind of funds. I'm talking about the kind of funds that we had this evening for the treasurer's report. The money that's coming in from our fundraisers, from dues, from projects. And then how are we spending it? What's our plan for spending that? Do we have projects we're looking at? Do we have things that we should be raising money for? So I just think at least once a year we need to have a serious discussion about that and think about doing that. So these other things are just sort of standard things to be done. And I'm going to make a motion on this, that we do this by a roll call vote.
Second.
Thank you.
So, we have to clarify, you mean paper ballot?
By a vote in which each person records their vote. So that's a roll call vote by paper ballot. Okay, because Kurt says he already has the ballots made up so that you can have just yes or no on each one of these. So I hope that there'll be some of you that want to speak in favor of this, and some of you may not give this any thought before, but I think there's a lot of good reasons to support these. This requires a 2/3 vote, so it's a pretty high standard. I think it should be by acclamation. I think that everybody should agree with this. And I respect you if you disagree, but I would certainly like to know why. But nevertheless, I think we should be a cordial, harmonious community as we talk about this, and I'll respect your point of view.
Point of order.
Don?
Is there a second to this motion?
Yes, there's been a second, yes.
There was a second to, yes, she did.
What was your name?
Mary Ellis.
Mary Ellis?
I thought that was to the roll call vote.
Oh, that was,
I'm amending it to say by roll call, I mean a ballot vote, okay?
So can we know what the motion is before we vote or discuss?
The motions are the 4 that are on here, and each one will be on the paper ballot that you get, and you'll just simply say yes or no.
With a separate motion to do roll call.
So that's my motion, that we use the materials that Kurt has prepared.
well, I guess to clarify, you're presenting 4 proposed amendments to the bylaws.
Right.
You're making a motion. Ms. Ellis, do you want to second that motion as well?
Yes.
All right. So we have a motion and a second for amending the bylaws. And now we also have a motion and a second to vote on by paper ballot.
I'd like to move that we move these amendments to the Rules Committee.
Can't hear.
I can see that several are going to need a little bit of tweaking to make them work. Wait. I'd like to table them by moving them to the Rules Committee, because I can see on here that some of the verbiage needs to be tweaked, and in order for them to be workable motions, because some of the things are stated so vaguely that you can't really determine what is supposed to be done.
So since I'm your new parliamentarian, I'll let you know, I did a little study before I got here tonight. This was gonna happen.
There's no second to that motion.
That's where I'm going.
All right.
in order for this to be referred to the Rules Committee, which I now chair, this will have to be seconded by someone in the audience. All right? And so now we will, since that is what they call a subsidiary motion, it takes precedence over the main motion to consider these amendments. So now we will take a vote, if the chairman pursues this, to determine if it passes, and it goes to the Rules Committee. That will conclude this portion of the agenda for now. But it is open for debate. Yes, a motion.
Well, we followed through with this by, our Constitution says you have to have the notice 5 days in advance. So everybody has gotten this notice 5 days in advance, and so we're ready to vote on these things. I don't understand what you think is vague. The only thing that I thought needed to be corrected was the description of what we mean by budget. The budget doesn't include every dollar that goes through here, but the budget requires the operating budget. So I just have to disagree that it's vague, because it seems to me like it's pretty straightforward. And I think that these are 4 ideas that we can vote on this evening instead of putting it off and putting it off.
Any other comments?
I have a comment. So the Democratic Party doesn't want to have a Democratic vote, is what I'm hearing. It's a simple yes/no vote. If you don't like it, vote no. It's that simple. I don't understand why we're denying the Central Committee the right to vote. It's that simple. Vote.
I actually like every one of the motions,
So,
but they are not written so they will work.
to David's point, it does say in our Constitution that all constitutional amendments will go through the Rules Committee, and so having the vote tonight was something that we were doing in the absence of a Rules Committee. Now that we have a parliamentarian, we can follow our own process.
I think that's a little disingenuous to say that now that we put out an agenda with items that maybe some folks find objectionable, that we're going to appoint a Rules Committee, and now suddenly have to refer these off to a Rules Committee. I object to that. I would call the question of voting on subsidiary motion.
Call the question. All right. So the motion on the floor right now is to refer the 4 proposed amendments to the bylaws to the Rules Committee. And all in favor, signify by raising your hand. I'll get one hand.
Will we get to vote on them after the Rules Committee has gone over them, or will the Rules Committee simply decide it? I just got distracted on the question.
All right, oppose the motion.
We'll come back to the floor.
Oppose. So the vote is 44 and 40 for the amendment, 40 for the amendment, and 22 opposed to the motion, to the referral. Sorry, to the referral.
There was a question during the voting about whether the Rules Committee would then bring it forward to the full group. I think the answer is the Rules Committee takes the first pass at our Constitution to identify if these things are constitutional by our own laws. They are the ones that have to decide if anything proposed is
it's in conflict with OVP's constitution, we're not allowed to do that, things like that. And then if they determine that those proposed amendments meet all of those criteria, then they come back to us to vote on it. So we would then be able to vote on it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so once it's reviewed by the rules committee, then what?
He just answered that.
I didn't do that.
One at a time, please.
The question is, when would the vote happen if it passes the rules committee?
So if the rules committee can meet between now and the August meeting and make a decision, then at the August meeting, we would hear these motions.
I don't recall voting on putting anybody on a rules committee.
Members of committees aren't voted on, that would be why.
No kidding.
And then, as I said earlier, if you want to be part of the rules committee, you could say so, talk to Zach and we'll put you on it. Yes.
So the rules committee takes hold of me. The rules committee takes hold of these, and then what comes back to us? Nothing? Totally rewritten?
If you, anybody can sign up to be on this committee. You want to be on the committee, you can sign up. The idea, I think that what her concern was, is they were vague, they can rewrite them to make sure, just, as even John, or I'm sorry, even Mike said, what he put forward here on the budget, he already had to change it, okay?
What do I get to vote on as a central committee member? Not much, apparently.
What you just did there, David.
Yeah.
You voted on something. How do you like that? I don't know, everyone raise their hands so you did get a vote on something.
A motion to stop the voting.
That wasn't what the motion was, but you can read it however you want.
So I appreciate why there's a little bit of like, what's going on? I totally get where you're coming from. What's going to come back to us, especially if this is something that you agree with, that you would like to see done. You're going to hand it off to this committee, and then what are we going to do? So regardless of what the Rules Committee decides, how we tweak the language to address Nancy's concerns, if what the Rules Committee ultimately presents to you is something that you don't like, you can make a motion on the floor to amend what we present to you and change it back to reflect exactly what is written here today. Or you could introduce something new. The fact that there is a Rules Committee doesn't mean we exclusively can only handle issues like this, but it's formulated as a body to do that, to help with this kind of an issue. So it could again be referred there, but if you want to bring up something again on the floor to the entire Central Committee that is an issue like this, a constitutional amendment, you can totally do that. So I think because this is a new thing, some people are a little reasonably apprehensive about your voice or your power being taken away. And to your concern, that's not it at all. That is as the chair of your Rules Committee and your parliamentarian, I'm not going to let that happen.
I move that the Central Committee direct that the Rules Committee report back at the August meeting with improved wording to the amendment as presented at this meeting, so that the Central Committee may vote, be assured of voting on the rules.
Second.
To have the Rules Committee meet and come back with a report by the August meeting. Is that correct?
There's discussion.
So the motion, was there a second? I believe there was a second. Is that-
I was a second.
All right. Motion is second. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I just have a question for clarification so I understand the process. The Rules Committee, their job is not to edit what's coming in. It's basically a legal read, to look at the existing document
language. I think one thing that Mike wanted to do was to clarify what at least the fourth one was anyway. Is that correct, Michael? The question was, basically, they're not there to rewrite these things. They're there to check the legality, make sure that they comply with our constitutional amendment, as well as our Constitution, as well as the Ohio Democratic Party Constitution.
So based on that understanding, I have a request of Mr. Bock. Because I think from a process perspective, for you to show where it came from, what your revision is, and the basis of your revision, if you could provide that back to the review, the rules committee, that at least gives them an understanding of why you're asking for the change, so that if it doesn't meet the requirement, they're able to understand the foundation and potentially give effective feedback that meets your intent but keeps us compliant. Is that a reasonable request to kind of ask if we're asking the rules committee to come back in August? That actually allows them to make informed decisions going to that August meeting.
I have a little trouble hearing you, so you can explain that to me a little bit later. It's going to. But I'm agreeing to be very cooperative, whatever.
So the rules committee would be absolutely welcome to do all of this work with Mr. Bock present, so they could have a back and forth dialogue as it's happening. It's not something that they go and have to do in a room by themselves. In most cases, anyone who wants to amend the Constitution can work directly with the rules committee, so that should be fine.
Call the question.
So there's a motion on the floor to have the Rules Committee have a report here August 29th meeting. And there's been a motion and second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed, raise your hand. Six. Abstain. One abstain. Two abstentions. So that motion passes 49 to 10 to 2 abstentions. All right, so you will be reporting to VACSAC on August the 29th. All right. Other announcements. Is Jamie Rippey? Jamie? Where are you at? Jamie, you want to make an announcement? You don't? You don't need to?
I'm just cognizant of people's time, that's all.
That's all right.
So just a quick announcement, just wanted to let you know, I will be collecting petitions and getting signatures at the end of the meeting, so just wanted to give you a heads up of that.
For what?
I'm sorry, for the Dayton School Board. Thank you.
Dana, you already made your announcement. Is there anything else you want to say regarding that?
Yeah, my name is D-A-N-N-A. I realize most people don't spell it with 2 N's, so you're going to look for me on Facebook and not find me. But it's Dana, D-A-N-N-A, F-O-R, 4-H-H Council, Huber Heights Council. So like me on Facebook, come out, support. We have some fun places we're doing meet and greets. Bring your friends. If you know people in Huber, bring them out.
Desiree Thames. Desiree is Dayton native, and she can tell a little bit about herself. I think she wants to let you know something here.
Thanks, Mark. Good evening, everyone. My name is Desiree Thames. I was born and raised on the west side of Dayton. Coming out tonight to share with you all that I am considering running for a congressional office for the seat currently occupied by Mike Turner. to make a difference. So a little bit about me. So I went to Dayton Delmar High School, go Wolves, and later Xavier University down in Cincinnati.
But that's okay.
It's okay. Chris Ray. And then after that, I went to Yale University Women's Campaign School, and most recently Georgetown Law. So I left Southwest Ohio to go work for a man by the name of Barack Obama. So I worked in various positions in the White House, and then after that, worked for a man by the name of Senator Sherrod Brown, and also Senator Chris Ray. During my time on the Hill, I served as president of the Senate Black Staffers. I worked on agriculture issues, including the Farm Bill, milk pricing, child nutrition, affordable quality access to health care, raising the minimum wage, paid family leave. After that, I decided that I really wanted to go to law school, but my family's poor and we couldn't afford it. So the only way I was able to do that was to work full time and go to law school at night. So I delayed my return home, and I worked for League of Conservation Voters, lobbying against Trump's judicial nominees such as Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, which dealt us a mighty punch today. And I also lobbied for environmental rights. I lobbied for a child care association on universal preschool, and I also lobbied for paid family leave for both men and women. All the while going through law school, suffering some health issues, but making my way across the stage eventually. So I have been mulling over the decision for a while now. I'm still considering it, legally considering right now, but would love to have your support. I welcome any questions you may have. I'm open to having coffees and lunches with folks throughout the day, throughout the week. So I have contact information with my cell and my Gmail. So I welcome any invitations you all may have or advice. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening to me.
I have a question.
Sure.
On your Facebook profile, it says you're a Steelers fan. How do you explain that?
Okay, so my
you don't have to.
No, it's a story because my mom loves it. So my mom is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and my stepdad loves the Cincinnati Bengals, and my biological father loves the Steelers, and so it's the only thing my biological parents agree on. So I wait.
Thank you, Ray. If you would have some questions, want to get contact information, should be available after the meeting. Walker Mayberry. Walker, did you want to make an announcement as well?
Just Eric Walker Mayberry, running for Montgomery County Educational Service Center, which was formerly called the County Board of Education. So anyone wants to ask me any questions, feedback, volunteers, come see me afterwards. Thanks.
Yes.
Democrats are all about accessibility, right? Right. If you are speaking to this group and you don't use a microphone, what you're saying is not accessible to anybody who has got any kind of hearing problem. And I don't know if we need to make a motion and have a vote on it.
So moved.
But please, you must use the microphone when you're making a comment about anything in this meeting. Can you tell I feel strongly about this? It's really no different than if you were in a wheelchair or had any other accessibility issue. And just because you think you can talk loud, it is not the same as using a microphone.
Will you refer that to the Rules Committee, please?
Any other announcements, comments? Right.
I am going to use the microphone. My name is Kimaru Watenza, and my name is not important, and who I am is relatively unimportant, but the experience that I'm going to share with you is very important. In 1974, I think that was the year that the tornado hit Xenia. I was in the Air Force, and I was in the Air Force. I worked at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base Hospital, and we were recalled to come back after duty and deal with the aftermath of the hurricane. I wasn't home for the recall, but I heard about it on the radio, so I got there late. By the time I got there, a lot of my medic friends had already been deployed to other places in Greene County. And during the night, there were, I would say, 150 of us who worked in the hospital, who were there to service anybody that needed it. But we did not get deployed because a bunch of people had been deployed to where they were needed from the hospital. But we were waiting for to be deployed elsewhere. We waited until 4 o'clock in the morning, and then we went home. But every place was serviced in Greene County where the hurricane hit, the tornado hit, except Central State University. We sat in that hospital. I was there until 4 in the morning when Central State University was devastated and they didn't send us there. I asked my commanding officer the next day why we weren't deployed to Central State University. And he told me, we didn't know they got here. So I left. But I don't believe him to this day. I didn't believe him then, and I don't believe him now. The second thing that I want to relate to you, I'm also a retired teacher from Dayton Public Schools. And one of my fellow retirees moved to Florida right before the big hurricane down there. And she was hit. And I, naturally knowing that she was there, text her to find out how she was doing. She was all right, but she applied to FEMA for help afterwards, as did a lot of people in her African American neighborhood. And she was turned down repeatedly. And I saved the text from her so that it will never leave me that she repeatedly got denied help from FEMA, as a lot of other African American people did. So I'm saying that should this happen with FEMA as they come here to help us now, I would hope that this body would make our voices heard and say that it is not right for FEMA to assist some people and not assist others.
This has been the greatest hour of the church. They have started helping people before FEMA came, and almost a lot of African American business people gave immediate assistance. And we have a religious group that's working with Montgomery County organizations to make sure this does not happen again. And I applaud every church that helped. I'm thinking Corinthian Baptist Church, who did a tremendous job. They passed out food, they fed the people, they sheltered the people, and also they had, if you help, other type of help. So this has been a better response than Katrina because and this has been a better response than the people in Xenia. And this is what we discussed at our meeting today as a group of churches, that we're going to make sure this doesn't happen again, because a lot of people are not able to fill out the application for help. And so this is what we're working on. And we thank Corinthian Baptist Church that fed the people, Bethesda Temple, and it was just a tremendous response of churches and county people, and this has been a better response I have seen, because I'm on Internet Katrina, because they were all in the stadium, and it was 4 days before they, or 4 or 5 days before they got water. But in this instance, many people came out and passed out water. Many businesses opened up for free meals. And we have a meeting coming up at Resurrection Church, and we're going to work on the problem.
Thank you.
All right, we're about 8 minutes away from the debate, so a few last couple things. I don't know if Robin Secchi is still here, but she's looking for volunteers to work at the polls again. It's that time again. So if you're one of those folks who normally does, or if you're not, you'd like to start, come talk to me. Or if Robin is still here, I know she had applications to fill out for that. Second item, if you have moved or changed any of your personal contact information recently, please let me know. We're getting a lot of mail back that we're sending out to our membership, and we have to pay for it twice now. So if you have moved or changed your phone number or your last name, or I know, I got you. Just let me know. And then finally, feeding him to the wolves, because it's the last thing on the agenda. We have a fellow from ODP here tonight. His name is Colin, and he'd like to say a few words.
Hi, thank you so much, everyone, and I'll definitely keep this short because I know everyone's waiting to either leave or go to the debate. But I just wanted to say that I'm Colin. I was born and raised in Cincinnati, and I'm working as a summer fellow here, and sorry, by here I mean for ODP. And the goal that we have for this summer program is that we want to hit the ground running for 2019 and 2020. So we're really trying to get out as many people as we can in order to go canvass and do voter registration drives. And specifically, we're targeting precincts that have a lot of Democrats, but they have very low voter turnout, because we've learned in the past that voter turnout is 100% what wins elections, and we need to get people out that maybe don't believe in voting or don't believe it doesn't matter, or believe that it doesn't matter. And so I'm in Southwest Ohio along with one other fellow trying to recruit as many volunteers as we can, and we're also specifically looking for volunteer leaders that are willing to help organize canvases in these areas. So yeah, if you have any questions, or if you would like to volunteer, or just want to talk to me about my experience or ODP or whatever, then I'll be here. And thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Carl.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
There's a motion and second. All in favor, saying aye. Aye. Just a reminder, we'll see you on August 15th at the ladies' luncheon and August 29th at our next meeting.